Okay, hello. Today I'm going to show you how to make this square top I found on Pinterest. It's honestly pretty easy to recreate. It's like a bunch of squares connected to each other, so don't worry. This can be made by beginners or anyone who is more advanced. It's pretty basic. You're just gonna make a bunch of squares. Okay, I'm gonna show you how I did it. So, first you're gonna take your tape measure and measure your waist. For this example, I measured about 30 inches. It wasn't too exact. Because I was gonna wear it over something anyway. But if you want to get a more exact fit, make sure your waist is measured correctly. Okay, for this construction, we're gonna make like 12 squares. Technically, you can just make 12 squares and then connect them all. But to make it slightly easier for ourselves, because I hate sewing, and I feel like the majority of you guys also hate sewing. So what we're gonna do is basically crochet one square and then just continue crocheting another square. So they're just already connected. That's way less sewing for us. But to achieve this, we need our waist measurement. So here it shows that it's 30 inches. Since it's 4 squares, we're gonna divide that by 4. So for this example, we get 7.5 inches. As you can see, that is the diagonal of the square, but we need the side of the square. I know it's a bit math, but we'll get there. So basically, this is the formula I found online. So you have D is your diagonal, is equivalent to A is your side, and the square root of 2. We just need A, so fill your diagonal as D and solve for A, and then we get 5.3 inches. And I times that by 2.5 to get that into centimeters, because that's easier for me. So that's 13.2 centimeters. Okay, so when I chain 25, excluding that 1 plus 1, because that's the turning chain, I get this length. So that's basically what you need to do for your thing too. The side of the square is gonna be this length, or whatever length you have. And then for half double crochet, to get a square, just make sure you do enough rows to get the same side. It doesn't have to be a perfect square. My squares aren't perfect, but it just has to be kind of a square. Also, if you're doing this, make sure that your rows, excluding that chain row, that doesn't count, that it's an even number, so that we can get the ending always at the diagonal part of it. Otherwise, you're gonna get like, you're gonna crochet it and like you start here, and if it's an uneven row, it goes here. We don't want that. We want it to end here so that we can connect it, so it's about like a row of that. Okay, so my pattern calls for 25 chains plus 1 chaining chain, so I'm gonna do that now. You're just gonna start with a slip knot. If you have no idea how to do a slip knot, yeah, look this up, because I'm not sure how to explain it. I just kind of do it. Okay, so now I'm going to chain 25. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26. Remember that extra chain I did here? This is a turning chain. So we skip the first chain from our hook, go into the next one, and do a half double crochet. Basically yarn over, go into the second chain from your stitch, go through. They have 3 loops, go through all of them. You did your first half double crochet. Yay! So just keep doing that. We're not really doing anything special, it's just half double crochet. I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so hopefully you're at the end of the first row. So now we're gonna just chain 1. Yeah, we're just gonna chain 1 and continue. If you want to hide this little tail over here and you don't want to do any sewing, just like start your half double crochet, make sure this goes over that, and then continue your half double crochet, and then keep doing that, like, so they can hide it. Oops. Okay, keep doing that so they can hide it. Okay, so that's basically it. You're just gonna make like an even amount of rows and chain 1 for half double crochet, because that's what I prefer, so that I don't have to keep count of how many half double crochet I'm doing. I know exactly where it is. Okay, like do it until like it's pretty hidden. Then you have this, just like keep it there. Cut it at the end of your project. So I'm gonna finish this square and then I'll meet you back and then I'll show you how to do the second square, which is connected to the first. Okay, welcome back. After you've done your even amount of rows and the desired amount, I'm gonna show you how we connect the first square to the second square. So basically, you're literally just gonna do what you did here, like the chain. Just do it here. So I'm gonna chain 25 plus 1. That's what I did in the beginning. 6. There you go. So now you have this chain. Just honestly, just pretend this thing doesn't exist. So now we're gonna go skip, you know, the procedure. Skip the first chain, go into the second, half double crochet. And then we keep doing that. Meet you at the end. Welcome back. At the end of your row, instead of you notice that in all the stitches that we did before, we basically just went through one loop. For the last one, to make it a little bit more seamless, instead of just going into this loop, we're going to go underneath the feet. So yarn over and go through these two loops basically. Hopefully you can see that. We went underneath the V and then finish that. And that's how it's connected. So you just continue it, you chain 1 and then you keep doing the rows you needed. So basically do this process until you have 4 squares in total. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. So these are like your 4 squares, they're all connected by the diagonal. Also in the last row, make sure you leave some yarn for the sewing. So that is what you're gonna do. Basically make these 4 squares 3 times and then you'll have 12 squares in total, and then I'll show you how to sew it together. Okay, so when you're done making everything, it'll look like this. Just lay out your 3 things with the 4 squares out like this. As you can see, these are connected. So just lay it out like this. On how to actually sew it, before I tell you that, okay, so if you don't turn it, you'll see like this little loop. If you don't want that loop, just do this twice and you get this kind of seamless thing. So that's what I do with all of them. To connect it, okay, we're just gonna look at one panel. Basically you connect this side with this side. So just connect the ends of each thing. And to connect all the 3 panels together, basically you just connect any corner together. So all these corners you connect together. These corners you'll connect together. These corners you'll connect together. So the only opening you'll have is like in between the squares, but every corner is connected to each other. So I kind of forgot to explain how to sew it, but let's real quick. So basically, if you want to connect all the corners, you just basically just go through all of the corners like this. And then you go through that with some yarn. I took like a short piece of yarn. You do that. And then you basically just knot it twice. And then when you're done knotting, you have to weave these 2 ends in. Okay, after you've sewed all of that, I'll show you how to do the straps. Okay, so this is what it's gonna look like when you're done. The front and the back look the same. So you're basically just gonna get like 4 strings of yarn, I guess. And you're gonna connect them one side here, one here, one here, and one here, so that you have 2 strings coming out of here that you can just tie a little bow at the top of your shoulder. For the length, if you really want to know, this is 18.5 inches. I measured this beforehand. Basically, just get a length that's like long enough so you can knot it here where you can weave in one end, and it's long enough that you can tie a bow at the top of your shoulder. I'll show you what the top looks like when I'm done weaving and everything. Okay, so the top is gonna look like this when you're done. the front and the back are the same, and if you weaved in all your ends, the good and the bad side are also essentially the same. But honestly, if I were lazy, I would honestly just knot everything. But yeah, this is the end product. If you liked the video, tell me if there are any other crochet products you want me to make. Tell me if you want me to make more videos like this. I don't know. This is my first tutorial, so if you made it all the way to the end, thank you. And I hope you like your top.